Today we're going to go over Edmentum Algebra 1 and 2. This was released on November 1st, along with some training videos. So hopefully you had an opportunity to watch those. If not, of course, they're still up there. And if you don't know where they're at, I will show you where they are. I will show you where they are located. Okay, so I'm your presenter, Hazel Rios. I work at Skyrocket. I am an instructional coach of mathematics. So we're going to go over any questions you all have, depending on whether you've watched the video or already started assigning the class, and then anything else that you would like answered. And then again, this is a different type of webinar, so if anyone else has a response for you, by all means, please jump in. And then we're going to go over the unit activities, kind of briefly touch on challenging units, and then I'll show you the resource folder and what is housed there. And again, this is being recorded, so if you feel the need to step away or leave, please do so. Okay, so just a reminder that there is an Edmentum certification in our Skyrocket Ed PD. This is an LMS course. If you through your Okta, you will find this tile here, and this will take you to all of the courses that you can earn badges on. And so this, I believe, is a 2-day course or recommended 2-day course where they walk you through everything Edmentum. Okay, so the course structure, again, it's 5 units per course. We did have to customize it because when it comes in through Edmentum, sometimes there are 3 units or 4 units or 8 units, and so we have to customize it to make it a 5-unit course. With that being said, some stuff gets moved around. So if it's a 3-unit course and each unit has a unit activity, that means we have to create 2 extra unit activities, hence the customizing of unit activities as well. There's an average of about 4 modules per unit. Some have a little bit more, some may have less. The order is the same as the integrated: unit modules, unit/course activity, and post-tests. And as I mentioned in one of the training videos, the unit/course activity, there is one or the other in each unit. So it may have a unit activity or it may have a course activity. So it depends on the unit itself, but it would never have both. And these are part of the grade. So the graded assignments are the mastery test, which is 1 per module, 1 unit or course activity, and the post test. Okay, so this is our Q&A session. After viewing the training videos, what questions do you have, if you have any?
You said, this is Wilfred Tanner. You said you're going to place a link to the training videos. This is the first I'm hearing of Edmentum. I didn't know about the.
Yeah, I can show you where those are. So let me raise my volume first of all, and then I will show you where those are. So in your, oh, I disabled all of my apps, my shortcuts. Oops. My bookmarks. Okay, so I usually have the curriculum website bookmarked for myself, but is this Mr. Wilfred?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Mr. Wilfred. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Okay, I'm glad. So do you know how to get to the OFL OFY curriculum page?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So the very first link that shows up there is the Edmentum resources, and that's everything that we are creating here within curriculum.
Got it. That's
and
good.
So, yeah, when you go to this, when you click on that website, we have OFL, OFY, and pathways. For the most part, they all take you to the same page, I believe. I just clicked on OFL, and then we have tabs.
I've seen that page before.
You have? Okay, perfect. And then we have tabs up here, and we have what we call, we have the teacher resources. And then within these teacher resources, we have, right now what's directly related to the math courses would be the Dropbox activity answer keys.
Okay.
So with integrated 1 and 2, we customized those activities, so we have answer keys for those. And then With Algebra 1 and 2, we customized 2 activities in each course, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So we have those answer keys located here as well. For this particular link, you do need to request access because they are answer keys. But once you request it the first time, then you're good to go after that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
then our other resources are located here under Math Curriculum, which will open up a new tab. And we have our integrated, which is the webinar I hosted last time. So here's the recording of that webinar. And then I did a unit activity demonstration, and here's that as well. And then here are some supplemental resources for each semester.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then for Algebra 1 and 2, I did some pre-recorded videos. I have 3 up right now, course details, module overview, and then unit and course activities. So those are located here along with the supplemental materials, which we will go over at the end. We'll take an in-depth look at these resources here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you for your question. Other questions? Okay, well, I'm going to move on. And if you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask as you think of them. So this, again, is a different type of live webinar than the last one, if you were here for the last one. So feel free to interrupt at any time. I will try to check the chat room as often as possible. But let's go ahead and move on. I like quotes. Important achievements require a clear focus, all-out effort, and a bottomless trunk full of strategies, plus allies in learning. That's by Carol Dweck. If you haven't read any of her books, she has some great ones. We don't need a 5-minute break since that was not a long Q&A. Okay, so the unit/course activities, I'm just going to kind of go over them a little bit because there is some new stuff that we included for Algebra 1 and 2. Mainly Algebra 2. So these, again, are always at the end of each unit. They are summative assessments of concepts learned in the unit. They're explorative, investigative, and applicative in nature. For the ones that we customized, we recommend that you print them out, complete them, or the student print them out, complete them, and then they can either, well, they would have to upload their assignment, which there are directions to do that, and then turn it into the teacher for grading. So these are all hand graded, whether it's on paper or through your computer screen. And then these are, remember, this is the only grade that's entered into the grade book. Everything is automatically entered through Edmentum. The unit/course activities are the only ones that you would enter yourself. They are graded assignments. And then the customized activities for Algebra 1 are in units 1 and 6. And for Algebra 2 are also in units 1 and 6. So that means that units 2 through 5 and 7 through 10 are Edmentum unit activities. So they are interactive and they would access them through their computer just like the rest of the course. And the unit activity answer keys, I just actually showed you where those are located. And then we have what we call this time unit activity companions. And so these are what we created since we did not have to create answer keys. We thought Danny, our curriculum writer, Danny Shiomoto, she thought of what would be the best resource available for teachers. And so she created these companions. And what they contain is scoring suggestions, additional resources, links, some guided questions, and then just general notes. And these are to help teachers assess student work and provide instruction. So I can show you the one that I will be working on, as a matter of fact. So those are located here in this teacher resources website. And then in Algebra 1 and 2, we have these supplemental materials. Now, she only created these unit activity companions for Algebra 2. Since Algebra 1 is like the most up-to-date version, it's pretty, It's not as challenging. She didn't create any for Algebra 1. However, if as you're going through them, as you're going through the courses, as you're using the companions, if you feel that this is something that teachers can definitely benefit from, we can give her that feedback and she can carve out some time to maybe create some for Algebra 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these. So remember, Unit 1 is customized, so it doesn't have a companion. It has the answer key located in a different link. So here we have the companion. So this is for Algebra 2, Semester A, Unit 2. So here's the link to that companion. And this is what it looks like. So it's not an answer key because the answers are located in Edmentum for these unit activities. And there are some scoring suggestions and guided notes and guiding questions depending on the activity itself. And she has links here. Well, this one doesn't have any in this particular case, but we can look at one that does. So these are some guiding questions as the student is trying to complete the unit activity. If at any point they get stuck, instead of giving them the answer, we ask them questions because, again, since they are investigative, they are summative, but they're investigative. So it's like they're applying the knowledge that they learned in the module in these unit activities. So we still want them to do a little like critical thinking and use their knowledge to complete this. So we don't want to give them the answer, but we definitely can guide them in that direction. So these are recommended questions that would help the student get to that answer. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one. So we go into Unit 3. It's that top link. Okay, so this is Unit 3, manipulating and interpreting polynomial expressions. So scoring suggestions, 5 points for correctly identifying the constant term. And all of this information is also available within the unit activity itself. But Danny has just made it a little more detailed for you all. And so here we see one where there are additional resources and links for either videos or notes, lessons, worked out questions or answers, or worked out problems, sorry. And just notes in general on how to explain to the student or how to walk the student through the problems. Any questions on these companions?
Actually, Hazel, real quick, you already sent me the answer key file for those unit activities for units 1 and 6, I think,
Yes.
for all the courses, but is it in the teacher resource page or is that a separate one?
It is in the teacher resource page. So if you go, sorry, let's see. Where's my teacher resource? Here, it's located.
Okay, there it is.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was it. Just wanted to know.
Okay. Yeah. So math answer keys. In case someone else has not seen these, this is where they are located.
Hazel, do you recommend that we print out the activity companion sheet for each student then?
That is for the teacher. It's a teacher.
Oh, so it's not for the students.
No, it's not for the student. It's
Okay.
a teacher resource to help you guide the student through the unit activity. So
Okay.
instead of, sometimes it could be something simple and sometimes it's not, but we're trying to help support the teacher in feeling comfortable and confident in helping their students.
So these are for IS teachers who are not comfortable with math so that they could kind of direct them if there's not a math person to help them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you could definitely use it in that way, especially, yeah, when they're either the MIS or the tutor are really busy or they're not available at the moment. These can be guiding questions to help the students, to help the teachers guide their students.
Okay.
But even the MIS or the tutor can also use these, right?
Yeah, MIS, tutor, any person that's facilitating or helping a student with these courses, they're available for all staff members.
Do you know when this course might be released?
This course was released November 1st. I don't know if, I believe some teachers have already started assigning it.
Okay.
Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and continue. So there are some challenging units. Within Algebra 1A, I would say that maybe even Chapter 9 a little bit, but some of these like solving quadratic equations where they have to do completing the square, we know that students always find it difficult to learn that concept. So these are some of the challenging units that you can kind of prepare for and start finding additional resources if you have any. If you need some, feel free to email us and we can try and help you with that. And then Unit 10 is a stats unit. I think anytime students come across statistics or probability or anything like that, it can be challenging as well. So I would say those are some of the most challenging units. Again, Algebra 1, if you haven't watched the videos that I created, it's version 7. It's the newest version released by Edmentum. I want to say it's like one of the best. It's really nice. It's very user-friendly, and the delivery of the lesson and the content is amazing. So it's a good course. It really is. Then we have Algebra 2A. So here we have function representations. So they go through different types of functions. So they go through exponential, rational, and again, these can be challenging for students. And then notice Algebra 1, Unit 1 and Algebra 2A, because we had to customize these units to make 5 units in each semester. What Danny did, because she's the one that customizes these, is she pulled modules from other courses to prepare them for semester A. So she pulled these modules here: exponents, radicals, equations and inequalities, graphs and solving problems or using them to solve problems, and function notation. So that's what Unit 1 is in 2A. And then in 2B, she did the same thing for Unit 6. She pulled some modules to prepare them for semester B. So translations and transformations, some geometry stuff, trig ratios, sampling populations, comparing probability and relative frequency. And that's because B is heavy on statistics and probability and data stuff here. So I would say that these are the most challenging units in Algebra 2B. And again, if you, as teachers or staff members, have any resources, by all means, please share them with us and we can share them with the field. Because this is, this page here where we have the resources, we're constantly updating it. So if you have anything for us, we can definitely upload it here. Any questions, comments, concerns about the challenging units or the units in general? And then to point out, these unit activities for Unit 1 and Unit 6, they're more of practicing problems. So they're not as challenging, or the rigor, I wouldn't say, is what these other ones are, 2 through 5 and 7 through 10. Okay. There are some lesson activities embedded within the modules, within the tutorial. So the tutorial is the learning part of the unit. There are, again, about 4 modules per unit on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. And each unit, or within these modules, there are tutorials, which is the lesson. And embedded are lesson activities. These lesson activities are not graded. However, there is learning embedded. So the students, we strongly recommend the students to try their best and seek support if needed. They cannot move on unless they enter a response for these lesson activities. They are investigative, so sometimes they can be a little challenging for the students. But unless they enter a response, they will not be able to move on. And once they submit a response, or once they enter their response, then the answer shows up below. So even if they can write anything into that box, and the answer will still show up. So it's kind of difficult to monitor that, to know whether the student is answering to get the answer or answering because they're actually trying. So that's something like a system that maybe you can come up with in these lesson activities. Integrated was very heavy on lesson activities. Algebra 1 and 2, not so much. But they're still there. Okay, so the resource folder, let me show you where those are. Again, we're here. And what they have, because Algebra 1 and 2 are newer versions, they already have a lot of resources embedded within Edmentum. So notice here, these are all the module resources that are available. And so I didn't really create any additional resources, especially for Algebra 1 A and B, because it's such a new course, and it already does a great job of delivering the content that I didn't feel the need to supplement. However, if, again, as you're going through it, because you guys are going to be using it in real time, let me know. Please send me emails or feedback letting me know whether supplemental resources are needed. And so what I did was each module has guided notes. So they're closed notes. These are notes where students fill in the blanks as they're going through the lesson. Kind of like Apex a little bit. And so these are printable for the students. They're available for the students in each module, and they're available here for you teachers if you'd like to print them out for the student. I also created one file with all of the guided notes for the entire unit. So if you'd like to print this for your student, it's just the guided notes for each module in the unit. So if you want to print all of this for your student and just hand it to them for the unit, you can also do that. So that's what this is. It's a PDF of all of the guided notes for each unit. And then there's other resources available for each module, depending on the module. So for example, this one has notes on order of operations. So you, the teacher, can look at this. You can print it out for your student or for yourself. And again, this is available for the student as well in Edmentum. And these are available in the resource folders. So I'll quickly show you. Here's the tutorial. This is where the lesson is located for the module. And then skip that video. And then here are the resources available in this folder. Where was I? And again, they're all slightly different. So these are all available within, it has them go to this website. And it has them do some interactive stuff. So these are additional resources that are provided by Edmentum. Any questions on this, the supplemental resource guide? Okay, and this is available for every semester in Algebra 1 and 2. And then keep in mind for Algebra 2, A and B, this is where the activity companion is located.
So here's a line of question. This is well.
Yes.
So the Algebra 2 is we're going to have our current the Green Lizard book, as well as Edmentum, being both the Algebra 2s that we offer.
Correct. So you will have the book SAW version and the Edmentum online version.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right, and last but not least, let's see. I'm going to go through, whoops, the unit activity demonstration. I feel like I have a lot of math inclined people here. I don't think I need to do any math, but if I do, please feel free to speak up. So I'm going to go through it and some of the resources that I recommend. And of course, if you have any suggestions, please speak up. So how many people do we have here today? 12 participants, including myself. So yeah, we can definitely find some other resources amongst the 12 of us. Okay, so I'm going to go through Algebra 2, Semester B, Unit 7. So let's find that here. So here's Algebra 2, Semester B. So Unit 7, Unit Activity, is one that is within Edmentum. So it's comparing and building functions. Okay, so in this unit activity, here is the scoring rubric. And then this also has a companion. And so the recommendations are there and available for you. So in this first task, they are finding functions that fit. And so one of the recommendations is to split these functions into 3. And so what I used was Desmos. Because you can easily manipulate and move these around to best fit the type of function. And they don't have to go into finding the exact equation, just the function that would model the data. So they would simply say that part 1 is a cubic polynomial function and part 2 and 3 are quadratic functions. So here's the answer key below for the teacher. This is not available for students. Would anyone like me to demo this and how I got this?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So let me turn these off. Okay, so I start with not the parent function, it's the negative parent function. And then what I did was I entered a general equation here for ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. And when you do that in Desmos, it automatically allows you to add sliders. And you can add sliders for one coefficient at a time or constant, or you can add them for all of them. And you can do a series of equations here as long as they all have different coefficients so that the sliders don't get mixed up or confused. So like, for example, my quadratic one, I did R, S, and T. And then the second quadratic, I did M, N, X, and O. So I used A, B, C, D, and then you can use these and you can enter minimum and maximums here, different ranges for the slider. Oops, took it away. There it is. And you can also enter a number here. 0.001. I don't remember what I had. 0.01. negative. So you can either use the slider or you can just enter your own number there, coefficient. And so I was trying to make it look like this, as close as possible to this. Again, they don't need the exact equation. They really don't. They just want to know that the student is able to recognize the different types of functions and what their graphs would look like. So in something like this, what they're saying is they recommend they split it into 3 parts and then identify each part with a different function if necessary. And so the response would be this for the student. Split it into 3 parts. Part 1 looks like a cubic and parts 2 and 3 look like a quadratic. Was that good, Mr. Wolf?
That was very helpful.
Okay, I'm glad. So again, I can demonstrate. So for example, if I take these away, as soon as I'm done entering this pops up. So I can add a slider for each one or for all of them. And then this is where I would start playing with it. This is not on, so there. And you can turn it on and off to view it by clicking on the color, the little circle here next to your entry. And so right now I only want this one to show, and so then you can start moving it. And so like I said, if I want something bigger here, I would enter it and then I'm able to slide it over. You can minimize, maximize, or zoom in, zoom out. And then for this, I believe I had a really large negative number. Then, oops, where'd it go? There it is. And it moves it over, so on and so forth. So. It went away again. Okay. So that would be task 1, and it goes through a series of part A, part B does the same thing. It shows them this one. And then part C does this one. It says, now try this one, write a description of the partitioned function using known function types. So the same thing. So this would be, looks like a linear, maybe an exponential, maybe a cubic here. So it's split into part 1, part 2, and part 3. And that's all they need to write, is what type of function would apply there. And then it goes into question 2. And in this one, they're asked to find data and then find a function that would fit the data. So here is a recommendation. Again, anything in these little green shaded boxes are only available to teachers. So this is not available for the student. So what Danny did is she recommends some places that you can look up data. And one of those places, she didn't give the direct link, but I can give it to you. It's the DASLdatadescription.com. And you can filter it, search by text, search by items. So I'm going for this one. I'm going to search for scatter plots. And then I don't want 5,943 cases. I will go crazy. And then I'm going to use this one, bookstore sales. So again, the activity simply asks them to go online, research, and find a set of real world data in 2 variables. So this can be a task on its own for a student. So in the companion, Danny lists 4 different places where you can search data, or the type of data to use if you would just want to give the student the data. But this is a place they can also go and look for different types of data. So you can simply copy and paste this into Desmos. All I'm going to do is paste it there, Control V, and it plots my data. Now, to find a function for this, because it does want them to do it here, they enter their data points here in the unit activity, and then they select one of these functions to represent the data. Oh, I need to click plot. So there's my data. So then they start using one of these, and they can custom create an equation if they see one that does not fit their data. So they can do that as well. So I like using Desmos because with Desmos, when you do this, oh, it did Y1. So I have to use the variables that are used there. And I think maybe a cubic would be a good one. So A, X1, to the, whoops, third power, plus B, X1 squared, plus C. It gives me an exact A, B, and C. And it gives me the best line of fit. So then I go back to my unit activity. And this, I don't know, how do you guys feel about doing, showing the students how to do this? Do you feel like this is cheating, too easy, not the intention of the unit activity? Let me know. Let me hear what you guys think.
Well, no, I'd have to give it a try and see how the student felt about it, and apply it a couple of times. And see.
Mm-hmm. See, we got a chat. I think it's great. Desmos is a graphing calculator after all. I agree. It is. I think teaching the students how to use all of their resources is important. If they learn the math behind it before you go to the shortcut, there's, in my opinion, nothing wrong with it, but everybody's opinion is different, and I respect that. We all have different teaching styles. So once they have this information, A, B, and C, and like I said, I saw a cubic in here, but the students can try different functions. So it gives them the ability to enter different, try different functions here. So they can try to fit a quadratic in here. They can also maybe just focus on a few points versus all of them. Because either way, the more points you have from a data, and this is what the students will understand through this task, the next part is once you identify your function, why did you choose this function is the next part. And then let's say you had to make a prediction for the behavior of your data, for end behavior. That's something that they would then think about, right? They start thinking about, well, the more data you have, obviously the end behavior will vary for the function that you use. So it may or may not apply if you have more data points. So this is the first task of Unit 7 activity. What do you guys think about this activity here for Unit 7?
I think that this might be something that our students who are dealing with remedial stuff may not necessarily, this might not be their cup of tea, so to speak.
Right.
So this would be more for advanced students who are a little bit more advanced than the average bear, so to speak.
Yeah, they might need a little bit of guidance. And this is where the tutor, their MIS, the SGI, or a very confident IS teacher can help. And this is why Danny created the companion, so there's some guiding questions throughout this entire unit activity. And this is Algebra 2 Semester B. So they've already been through the other content, and hopefully by the time they get to this is something that they are able to do for the most part without too many obstacles. And then second task for this, task number 2, is modeling with inverses. So the first 3 questions go through finding the inverse of a function. So it poses the situation here. So the first function models the process of producing fresh water using or in X hours. The second one is producing and selling X units of product and the profit this company makes. And the third one is tracking the population of penguins after 2012, the number of years that have passed since 2012. So there's 3 different functions that are given with their situations. And the students are asked to find the inverse. So the first 3 questions are not too difficult because they learned this in the unit. They learned about logs, natural logs, and E, and how to find the inverse of a function. And then again, this green part here is only for the teacher, so it walks the teacher or the facilitator through the steps of how to solve this or how to find the inverse. So those are the first 3 questions, finding the inverse of each of those functions. Would anyone like me to demonstrate? The math is here, but if there's anything you'd like me to explain or go over, I would be more than happy to. Okay. And then the next part has them explain how the inverse and the original function relate to each other, or how they're related. So, and it goes through to explain that the function gives the amount of fresh water produced in X hours, and the inverse gives the amount of time required to produce a certain amount from salt water. And so on and so forth for each of the situations. That's what they are expected to respond in this box. And then it asks them to graph it here. So logarithmic. And again, they can use Desmos, and then they can go back and enter it here. Because all their responses do need to be here so that the teacher can grade the student work. And then they do that for all 3 functions and their inverses. And then it goes through and asks them a series of questions. What relationship do you notice for the graphs? And then why would it be beneficial to have both of the functions, the inverse and the original? And then here is the answer for the teacher. And so that that's the end of this unit activity. It's 2 different tasks within the same unit activity. And like I said, it's it scaffolds a little bit, but it's I think it's a pretty good activity. No chats. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Crickets? Okay. So that's all I had for today, but if there is anything else that you would like me to go over, I would be more than happy to do that. I can go over any of the modules I can go through any other unit activities.
Actually, Hazel, I have a question if you're done with that portion. But can
Yes.
you go to that Algebra 2B Unit 7 after the unit activity, that extra
Uh-huh.
practice? So that extra practice, I don't know if you already went over it, but for the student's perspective, that extra practice is exactly what it is, right? They don't have to do it because once they do it, it's not going to turn that blue for that completion box or whatever.
So yeah, this is extra practice. It's not part of the grade. It is to preview problems on the post test. So it's a practice, like kind of a review for the post test. And even I'm not able to view it. Like this isn't something that we can
Okay.
give us for this.
So is there a way we can view this then as a teacher instead of going into the student account and looking at it from there?
No.
Okay, there's no other like that resource page doesn't have those questions, right? Okay.
No.
So,
But you can view the test as a teacher.
okay. So, but it's the practice test is similar to the test you're saying then?
Yes, they're
Okay.
parallel questions to the test.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. And this extra practice is not available in the customized units. So just kind of be aware of that, which is units 1 and 6 in both Algebra 1 and 2.
Actually, one last question. Seems like your screen icons are completely different than mine. Is it because you're on a different administrator access or something? Because I just have those blue circles and stuff instead of those. Or is that a new version?
Oh, because I'm in the curriculum. So I went, after clicking on the course itself, I clicked on curriculum. You
okay.
viewing, I don't know what you're viewing.
I'm just viewing.
Okay.
Just, you know, those circles, those blue circles that the students.
Yeah, that's, I believe, like, can somebody else respond to that?
Yeah, I think he's viewing from like he clicked on an actual student. Instead of,
Okay.
Oh, okay. I see. You're clicking from just a
Thank you.
generic one. Okay.
And I don't have any students to click on, so.
Okay, I see. Okay, so you don't have to enroll a student for you to view the curriculum from that point of view. Okay, I never knew that, so that's good to know.
Right. But there should have been a course added into, I'm in PMG training school, which is something different than you have. But depending on the school that you're under, if they opened a course, and you're able to view it.
Also, I'm in the Propel training school for the Long Beach area right now, but once I create like a demo class in the Propel training school, and I assign an actual student into the Propel training class, the student actually does get to see that course as well, right?
Yes.
So we should only use demo student accounts, even if we're in the training site, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't know that either. I thought anything in the Propel training school would just not show up at all, but I guess don't use the student accounts. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
And this is Wilfred. I don't know how we might facilitate this, but it might be good to, once someone comes into this arena and starts with these for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, Algebra 1A and 1B more particularly, that it'd be good to know who those people are. It's like, oh, this person is, started fighting the Edmentum battles and, how successful they've been. It might be good to know those people as a reference. I don't know how we might communicate that, because you don't know whether or not a teacher has assigned this or something just looking in the system or do.
So you can, right? Can someone else speak to that? You can see who's assigned the course and the students that are enrolled in that course, right?
I think you're right. I think I do remember seeing that for one of the teachers. It's just it's just not right in front of me right now. I think there's once I go into the system, I do seem to recall that you could look up. Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If they put their name in the title of whatever they put it in, then you could know that that's teacher.
Yes. Or go around asking your teachers, have you assigned it?
That's funny.
What you're saying, Mr. Wilfred. Yes.
This is a good informative type discussion to initially introduce ourselves to just this particular course. So
Oh,
this has
thank you.
been very,
I'm
very
glad.
been helpful.
So Hazel, after we're done, this is a separate question for you. So I'll
Mhm.
wait until I guess this is over.
Sure. Okay. No problem.
Yeah, I think this is Wilfred here. I think once we start assigning these courses and teachers get more familiar with them, just as with Apex. When we first started with Apex, there was a growing curve,
Yes.
learning/growing curve.
It
And
is.
the momentum is going to be the same. It's like there's going to be a growing curve. We'll figure out what its strengths are, and etc.
Right.
As we're going through, as we enter into that arena and confront the Admentum math.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just going to take time. So.
Thank you. I agree.
But if that's it, I'm going to sign off. And thank
Okay.
you very much, Hazel.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Very,
Wilfred.
very, very much appreciate it.
Then my
Thank
question.
you.
I love what you do. So,
Thank you.
okay.
If no one else has any other questions, then we can conclude this.
Thank you, Hazel.
Hi. Oh, thank you.
So I guess we can stop the recording for my question since I think it's only related to me since I'm doing 3 centers.
Yeah, hold
I
on.
just want to know how to
Hold on,
organize.
hold on. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. If you have any questions, feel free to email us, and I will email everyone with links to this recording and other resources. Have a great weekend.